Okay, so now we're taking a break from the PowerPoint and we are going to log in to the IRCC website, which, by the way, this is why we had to postpone the session. I don't know if you noticed on Tuesday, but this portal was having issues. So one minute I could log in and then the next I couldn't. And I was like, well, this is not going to be helpful if I can't actually log in and show you how to do it. So that is why we had to postpone. So thank you for your patience with that. I'm just going to remember my username and password. There we go. So if you don't already have an IRCC account and you think you need help creating one, there is actually, let me find it. I actually should have had this link open already. I'll find it really quickly and just put it in the chat for you. I don't see it right now, but if you are in this situation where you think you need help creating an account, just let me know in the chat, and then afterwards I'll send you the there's basically a YouTube video that goes through all of the steps, so it's very helpful. What did I put as my favorite color? Just as a tip, if ever you have to create an account, make sure you save your question and answers somewhere, because so this is interesting. The answer I have saved was not the right one. So very important to save your answers somewhere. Okay, so now that you are in your account, it should look like this, unless you have like a pending application or something like that, or any applications you've already submitted, they'll show up here. And then any application that you've started but haven't submitted will show up here. So to start an application, you actually have to click on Apply to Come to Canada, which I know is misleading because you're already in Canada, but that's the way it is. So once you get here, you can see you have to determine your eligibility and apply online. So I'm going to click on this one because we are applying for a work permit today. So what would you like to do in Canada? You want to work. How long are you planning to stay? Temporarily, more than 6 months. And then here you want to select the code that matches your passport. And then current country of residence. So this is where it depends where you're going to be applying from. So we're going to be applying from Canada today, but if you are going to be applying outside Canada, this is where you would select it. So that just means that your application is going to be processed by a different office. Do you have a family member who's a Canadian citizen or PR and is 18 years or older? I'm gonna put no. And then my date of birth for this fictitious student I've created. So Isabella's date of birth is January 1st. Are you a lawful permanent resident of the United States? She is not. What is your current immigration status in Canada? So hopefully most of you will be applying while your study permit is still valid, which means you'll be selecting student. But if ever you're applying a little bit later and you maybe changed your status to visitor, you could select visitor as well. So we're going to select student because that's most likely what you'll be doing. Do you plan to work on campus? Here, put no, even if you might be working on campus as a postgrad work permit holder. For the purposes of this questionnaire and to generate the right form, just put no for this. And then, are you a full-time student at a participating post-secondary institution and want to work off campus up to 20 hours a week? Again, here you want to put no, even if it's true. It's not what you're looking for right now. Have you recently graduated from a participating Canadian post-secondary institution? Yes. And then, is work an essential part of your studies? Here, you're going to put no, even if you are maybe graduating from a co-op program. Again, it's not important for this particular application. So we're going to go next. Have you been told by an IRCC office that you were approved in principle for permanent residence in Canada? That's personal, so you just answer it truthfully. Have you submitted an application for PR in Canada? That is also personal. And again, if you have, it should not impact this application whatsoever. So just answer it truthfully. Do you have a written job offer? You do not need a job offer to apply for the postgrad work permit, so you can put no. If you do have a job offer, you can put it here, but it is not required whatsoever. Do you have an official letter from your school that confirms you've completed your study program and a copy of your final transcript? Yes. You have to put yes, because otherwise it's not going to let you apply for the postgrad work permit. Even if you're maybe waiting for those documents, just put yes for now. What is your marital status? That's pretty straightforward. And then province of destination. Because you're going to be applying for an open work permit, this really doesn't matter, but I would just recommend you put Ontario. That's where Ottawa is located, so just put that to keep it simple. So you can see we have two results here. We have temporary resident visa or postgraduate work permit. So something to keep in mind is whenever you're applying for new documents or extending your status or your stay in Canada, you always want to follow this order. So you want to always make sure first that your passport is valid, and if possible that your passport has enough validity to cover your entire postgrad work permit, because that'll make it easier. And then next you'll want to extend your status. So that would be either extending your study permit or applying for a new status, which would be applying for the postgrad work permit. And then after you've received that new document, that's when you can apply for the new visa. So the visa is really the last thing that you want to renew. And it's also like the least important out of the three, because it is just a travel authorization. So keep that in mind. So we're going to go postgrad work permit. So we're almost there. A few more questions. So then it asks you again, do you have an official letter from your school that confirms you've completed your program, as well as a copy of your final transcript? Yes. And then, have you had a medical exam performed by an IRCC authorized panel physician within the last 12 months? So that is going to be personal. It is not required. So just answer this truthfully, basically. So we're going to put no. And then, have you lived in a designated country or territory for more than 6 months in the last year? You are able to look up what the designated country or territories are. Canada is not a designated country or territory. So if you've lived in Canada for this past year, and so you haven't lived anywhere else for more than 6 months, then you're probably going to answer no to this. But again, it depends on your situation. So I'm going to put no here. So, do you want to work in one of the following jobs? So this is very important. If you do want to work in one of these jobs, you will be required to have a medical exam done. So these are examples of jobs that involve working closely with the public. And so it's a matter of health and safety. So if you select yes, you will need to do a medical exam, just so you know. And also it's important if you do want to work in one of these jobs to select yes, because once you do your medical and all of that, that means that you'll have the right remark or condition on your work permit, because otherwise by default, they're going to put that you're not eligible to work in one of these fields. So, so that's just very important to keep in mind. So Isabella is not interested in working in one of these jobs, but just if you are, make sure you select yes. And then if you select yes, like I said, you'll have an extra item in your checklist, which is the medical exam. Do you want to submit an application for a family member? So this is where, for example, if maybe you are here with your spouse or a common law partner, or you have children and they also need to apply for something, you could submit something for them as well. Isabella is not going to do that, but it is an option. Are you giving someone access to your application? So the most likely the answer will be no, but unless you do plan on using an authorized representative or something like that. So it is your choice. In my opinion, it's not necessary for this application. It's pretty straightforward, but it is completely up to you. So I'm going to put no. In the past 10 years, have you given your fingerprints and photos for an application to come to Canada? So here's where it gets a little bit, it's a very obviously straightforward question, but if you haven't given biometrics, but you're applying inside Canada, I would answer yes, only because otherwise you're gonna have that $85 fee show up in your application, and you are technically exempt from giving biometrics. So if you answer this no, and you're applying inside Canada, you're gonna have to pay the fee. And then when IRCC processes your application, they will reimburse you. But if you want to avoid this like back and forth, you could just put no. Again, this is only if you're applying inside Canada. If you're applying outside Canada, you will probably have to give biometrics if the answer to this question is no. So Isabella did give biometrics, so she's okay, but just keep that in mind. I see a question related to biometrics. If I gave it for a job here in Canada, does it count? No. So it has to be within the context of an immigration application. So if you had to give your fingerprints for like a security clearance, that is separate. That does not count. But if you're applying from inside Canada, again, you are exempt right now. So you're okay for now. So there are fees associated with this application. Will you be paying your fees, or are you fee exempt? Most likely you'll be paying your fees. There are certain people who are fee exempt, refugees, certain diplomats, that kind of thing. Are you able to make a digital copy of your documents with a scanner or camera? Super important, obviously, for an online application. Since you're going to be submitting everything electronically, you have to be able to provide the supporting documents electronically. So you have to select yes. Will you be paying your application fees online? To pay online, you can use a credit card or a debit card. So this is yes. And I see another question about biometrics. If we gave them during the application for a study permit while outside Canada, is that fine, or do we have to give it here again for a work permit? No. So if you did it, if you provided it as part of your initial study permit application outside Canada, those should stay valid for 10 years, and you should not have to give them again. And you can actually check the validity of your biometrics. I'm actually gonna put the link in the chat here. So you can check the validity. If you're not sure if yours are still valid, you can check. Okay. So now you have the opportunity to review your answers. So just take a quick look and make sure everything is good to go. And then if it is, you can continue. And then here they give you kind of some helpful info about your application. So so you can see that your application, if you don't submit it all in one go, your application will actually stay saved in your account, but only for 60 days. So that is important to keep in mind. So if you, for example, wanted to get started on your application before you get your completion documents, you can, but don't start too early. Like, make sure you take into account this 60 days, because basically, if it's not submitted within 60 days, it's just automatically deleted and you'll have to start over, which is annoying. So keep that in mind. And then they also give you some kind of guidelines about like file sizes and what file types are acceptable and that kind of thing. And then they also talk about like how it works for signing your application like electronically. So basically you're not going to have to, do not like print the form and sign it by hand and scan it. That's not what they want. It's basically what it is they're going to ask you a security question, and by answering it, that will count as your digital signature. So yeah, so now we'll continue. Okay, so I see a question here. If I'm currently outside Canada and add the country as where I'm applying, so my application will be processed by where I am, right? And if I travel, and would that be a problem where my application is being processed? Yeah, so how it works, so yeah, if you select your current country of residence and it's not Canada, that will be the office that processes your work permit application. And in general, we don't advise traveling until your application is approved. So yeah, and then I'll get into the travel restrictions a little bit later. Basically, COVID adds an extra layer of complexity to this right now, which I'll get into a little bit later. But basically, if you're going to apply from outside Canada, it is not our recommendation to travel to Canada until your application is completely processed. And one nice thing if you're applying outside Canada is that when you apply for something outside Canada, automatically you get considered for either an electronic travel authorization or a visa, depending on your country of citizenship. So unlike when you apply inside Canada, you don't have to apply for it separately. So you apply for the work permit, then they send you an email asking for your passport, they put the visa in there, they send you back your passport, and then they send you a letter approving your work permit. Or they send you an approval just saying you have a new authorization, an ETA. In Canada, like I mentioned earlier, you have to apply for the work permit, and then once your work permit is approved, only then can you apply for a new visa, and it's a separate fee, separate process. So that's one advantage, I would say, of applying outside Canada, is the visa is like included in your initial application. So this is what your document checklist looks like once you're in there. So you can see there's the main application form, there's some supporting documents, and then there's some optional documents, and then there are the fees here. So no biometrics fee because Isabella already provided them. And then these two fees, just so you know, that's normal. This is the correct fee to apply for a post-grad work permit. I'm not sure why they break it down like this, to be honest, but anyway, so that is the correct fee.